Today is Thursday, April 18th. We are now live with the latest in the crypto world. It's 9:30 a.m. in New York City, 2:30 p.m. in London, 10:30 p.m. in Tokyo, and 3:30 p.m. here in Malta. Digital assets are mostly in the green, pushing the total market valuation closer to the $180 billion level. Let's take a look at the market moves on today's Crypto Live Now show. The cryptocurrency index, CCI 30, has edged further above the 3,100-point mark. The index is up by 20% so far in April. It gained measures at nearly 45% year to date. The 30-day Bitcoin volatility index increased just slightly above the 3.5% mark yesterday. It has remained close to this range for 2 weeks in a row now. The CoinMarketCap website's 24-hour traded volume indicator has increased above the $40 billion level. The Mozari website's so-called Real 10 volume is virtually unchanged at close to $1.3 billion. The Bitcoin dominance indicator has slipped slightly as it moves south of the 52% mark. The top 5 digital assets are mostly trading in the green. Bitcoin is on a move higher to test the $5,300 resistance level. Ether jumped during the early hours to trade at more than $170. XRP has had a bullish session and it currently holds the ground above the 34-cent mark. Bitcoin Cash continues trading mostly sideways after it jumped above the $300 level. EOS is slightly in the green and it sees support above the $5.50 mark. The Coin 360 heat map shows a mostly bullish picture as assets continue trading higher for the second day in a row. According to the Token Spread website, the BitMEX and CEX exchanges have posted the top intermarket spread of just over 1%. The XMO exchange has the biggest single exchange buy and sell side difference of 0.24%. Let's take a look at some of the characteristics of nulls. It is a blockchain infrastructure tool that provides highly customizable blockchain solutions for enterprises. This, in turn, lowers the development costs. The nulls token is used to support the entire ecosystem. The token can be used on transaction fees, mining rewards, community governance, and chain building fees. The price of this asset surged above the $8 level during the market peak in January of 2018. Currently, it trades at less than $1. We will now review the performance of the cryptocurrency asset classes as grouped by the Mozari website. The infrastructure group is the worst performing asset class today, with a gain of less than 1%. This is despite most of the major assets are trading well into the green. The media and entertainment category is up by more than 1%. Theta token and LBRY credits are 2 of the major bearish contributors. The financial sector is up by slightly more than 1%, and the picture is green across the table. Argos Rep token is the most bullish asset here. The currency category has gained 1.3%, and Bitcoin Cash is the only asset that trades in the red. And lastly, the services section is the top performer with a gain of 1.6%. This is despite some of the services assets posting declines. This is where the 5 major cryptocurrency categories stand so far this Thursday. We will now focus on the most significant moves among the top 100 cryptocurrencies to identify the top gainers and, of course, the biggest decliners. We'll begin with the gainers. The majority of digital assets are trading in the green as the bullish sentiment continues, driving the markets for the second day in a row. The Tezos coin leads the bull section with a daily gain of nearly 12%. The asset is up by more than 150% over the past month as it continued rising above the $1 level. Argos Rep token posts a 10% increase to jump above the $21 price level. This comes as the Coinbase exchange announced listing this asset on their customer platform. The Maker token has rebounded by 9% after yesterday's decline. The asset currently trades at nearly $680. The Basic Attention token is up by 9%. As of yesterday, the BAT token rewards are available on the Brave browser for Android. 100,000 BAT tokens will be granted to users to kick off tips to content creators. Bitcoin SV wraps up this list with a gain of 7%. This is a rebound after the recent sell-off. Now for the decliners. There are no double-digit declines today as most of the digital assets are trading in the green. The Theta token is down by 4%. This comes as a correction after a bullish week, which saw the token break through the 13-cent resistance line. The project yesterday announced its partnership with NASA to stream a rocket launch event. The Maximine coin stands less than 3% in the red. This is a correction after the recent rise, but the 8-cent support level has held for now. The ABBC coin continues its recent downtrend as it has given up approximately 2.5% over the past 24 hours. The usually volatile Aurora token shows a decline of 1.5%. Bitcoin Cash wraps up this list with a move south of slightly more than 1%. The asset is mostly trading sideways above the $300 mark. And now we'll head to a break. Don't go anywhere because we will be back. These were the top 24-hour moves during the European morning trading session this Thursday. Don't go anywhere because we'll be back.
180 different countries all around the world, which makes us grow in like a sphere.
We are stronger than ever.
Have these questions answered without disclosing anything.
AI field is mostly controlled by a few large corporations.
Much busier, bigger than ever.
In the mid-2020s. I do think that will come.
We should kind of keep in mind that we want the world to be a better place.
$15 billion a day. This is incredible.
People find a way to create infrastructure.
I think knowledge is one of the most important things in the world.
We laid the foundation for the distributed trust model that Satoshi builds on.
It does come with some risks, but at the same time, I think it's an opportunity for countries.
Individuals miss the boat on a market, they miss the boat. When the institutions miss the boat, they bring the boat back.
This is Blocks Live TV.
Welcome back to our Crypto Now live show. We will now join our crypto experts, Kevin Mirko, CEO of the Coin Metro Exchange, and Jason Fernandez, COO and co-founder of AE Token. Hi guys, thanks so much for joining us. How are you guys doing today?
Hi Leah, how are you doing?
I'm good. Now, markets are relatively calm, but the overall mood appears to be bullish as Bitcoin tests the $5,300 resistance level. What is your expert opinion on the overall market performance today? So, Jason, we'll go straight to you, please. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we discussed this a bit yesterday, and I think I'm going to stick with what I said then. I think there's going to be a little bit back and forth between 5,200 and 5,300. I wouldn't be surprised if it broke out into 5,500 sometime soon. I've heard a lot of negative numbers somewhere around like 4,600, but I tend to be a little bit more positive. So I'm thinking about 52 to 5,300 in the near future, and then possibly a breakout into 5,500.
Thank you very much for that. Now, Kevin, where do you stand? What are your thoughts? Do you tend to agree or disagree with Jason here?
Relatively the same. I think as long as we stay above this 5,000, let's say, psychological resistance, there's obviously more buying pressure than there is selling pressure. So, and the fact that we continue to inch up and create new support. So initially, obviously, we had the 5,000 resistance, which became support. We then had 5,150, 5,180. We then had 5,200. Now it's 5,300. So the fact that we're inching higher definitely tells me that while there isn't a significant difference between, let's say, buyers and sellers in the market, there's definitely right now more buying pressure than selling pressure. So if those negative, like Jason mentioned, if those negative numbers were to happen, if we did see a break below 5,000 again, I think that would be quite detrimental to this little bull run that we're seeing, because that's a very significant level. That 5,000 level from a psychological standpoint is very significant. But as long as we stay above and we start to make higher highs above 5,000, I think, yeah, 5,500 is definitely the next major psychological level. And if we make it through there, it's probably 5,700 on up to 6,000.
Kevin, thank you. Now, Binance has tweeted that today marks the birth of a new Genesis block. So does this mean the launch of Binance Chain, and how significant is this going to be? So, Jason, what are your thoughts, please?
So to be clear, they haven't officially launched the Binance Chain or announced the launch. What they did is they tweeted out that a new Genesis block is created, which people have basically reasonably taken to assume to mean that Binance Chain is imminent. They also announced that Binance decentralized exchange is also imminent. So people are saying it's either one or both of those. And I think it is hugely significant because a lot of projects don't really use the fancy smart contracts, the features that are built into Ethereum, and they're basically using it more as a token platform. And to that end, Binance is actually cheaper to transfer and will likely have better liquidity as well. So in February, CZ had said that they already have something like half a dozen projects that have confirmed and very large existing players that are running on ERC20 tokens currently that they're going to move to Binance chain when the chain becomes operational. And so that's going to have a huge effect on Ethereum because Ethereum has so far ruled the roost in this area. But Binance is a real force to be reckoned with. They have a market cap of 2.7 billion, which places them above Tether, and we could easily see that quite a few people are going to move their chains, move their stuff off of Ethereum and onto Binance Chain for favorable treatment. I mean, that's something that they could certainly imply. They certainly have the clout to imply, hey, if you want to move from Ethereum to Binance Chain, you'll get favorable treatment, and if you don't, you could be delisted if you have volumes of less than, let's say, 1 million a day. They could easily say that, and that would make a huge impact in terms of moving people onto their chain.
Then thank you very much. And Kevin, your thoughts, please.
Caveats before I give my answer on this one. One, obviously, I'm an exchange owner, and we're talking about Binance, so you're already going to get a bit of. I'm already going to be on one side of the fence on that one. And then on the other side, the other caveat is simply that. I guess I like competition. So whatever industry I'm in, I'm not against competition whatsoever. So my answer then to this question is that, obviously I think this Genesis block, I mean, there is only one Genesis block, the actual meaning of Genesis. There can only be one. That's Bitcoin, right? It's the one who started all this. But on the outside of that, I think Binance creating their own chain, and then obviously they're going to be able to pull projects onto that chain. Why? Because obviously they control the liquidity, or the vast majority of it. Whether you believe that a lot of it's wash traded or it's not, they still take out the wash trading and front running from every exchange that usually has this problem, and they still probably are the leaders in liquidity. So the fact that they hold the liquidity means they hold power, and that power means that if they ask, let's say forcibly ask, even in some instances, for larger projects if they want to continue to be listed on Binance, they have to move to the Binance chain. They will move. Whether it's better or worse, let's say, from a technology standpoint, just to maintain the liquidity. So my fear here is that the whole idea about crypto in general is decentralization. It's about democratization. And we're putting a lot of power, we're centralizing a ton of power into one entity. And that isn't good either for competition, and it's definitely not good when you're talking about the real core values of crypto in general. So I see a bit of a it's just every time Binance launches something that kind of forcibly kind of brings people into their sphere, it makes me just a bit weary, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Okay, now sticking with Binance for the minute, the first use case for this chain is Binance Decentralized Exchange. Is this a type of exchange likely to grow in popularity? What do we think? So Kevin, we'll go straight to you. Is it likely to grow in popularity?
I think decentralization and a decentralized exchange in a perfect world is an almost near perfect solution for moving value and money. So I do think that they will grow in popularity. However, what grows in popularity and what can actually be, let's say, what it can actually function in a regulated atmosphere are two very different things. So I do think, just like everybody would love to be able to pay everything with cash, or not have their names on their credit cards and not have to pay taxes, everybody would love these things. And they'd be very popular. Doesn't necessarily mean they can be done. So I do think we're going to run into roadblocks with decentralized exchanges and regulation. And again, the Binance Decentralized Exchange, I don't know how much the word decentralized there, I think, is a bit of a misnomer, because at the end of the day, they now control the protocol. They control all the listing into that exchange. They control a lot of aspects. So they centralize a lot of control inside that decentralized exchange. So I think the concept of decentralization is a great one. I do think we'll have to come to some type of middle ground so that true decentralized exchanges will be able to function inside of a regulated, let's say, a regulated industry. But I do think, yeah, a centralized exchange with a centralized protocol controlling a decentralized exchange, I'm not sure that really makes so much sense, to be quite honest.
Okay, and Jason, please add your thoughts here, please.
Yeah, so I think to some extent, when people are looking at the Binance decentralized exchange, they are looking at some degree of a walled garden. And to some people, that's actually a good thing. Overall, as Kevin said, yeah, absolutely, it does go against the principles of decentralization. But it just depends on how they actually start implementing this out, and whether they start making it a more democratic process on what coins get listed and how the whole thing, starts playing out. I think ultimately more companies are going to start needing to do that in order to maintain the ideal of decentralization while still having enough centralization to give some degree of relief to people that are maybe not so sure about using the technology. The biggest problem with decentralized exchanges thus far has been liquidity. So the decentralized exchange essentially has to match up buyer and seller pretty reliably, or it's not going to work. Binance is a huge player here, so they might have a better chance of solving the liquidity problem than other decentralized exchanges. But it's a chicken and egg situation right now, and it just depends how exactly it plays out.
Okay, so we'll have to wait and see. So thank you for that. Now, Binance Coin will be migrated to the Binance Chain to become the blockchain's native coin. Will this have any impact on the BNB token price? Kevin, what are your thoughts?
Well, obviously, given the current services that BNB, let's say, underwrites right now or underpins right now, it wouldn't make any difference. However, if they start to build out additional use cases inside of that protocol, meaning that protocol is not just being used by Binance, but it starts to be used by other businesses outside of Binance's ecosphere. And in order to use that, all the fees and all the different, let's say, monetized pieces of that protocol are then payable in BNB. Obviously, it increases the usage of BNB. It increases the amount of BNB that needs to be purchased. So yes, it would have a direct impact on the price because it's going to directly affect supply and demand.
Okay, and Jason, do you also believe that it's going to have a direct impact?
Yeah, I mean, one of those things about Binance Coin is it seems like almost any news that comes out, much to the chagrin of probably other exchange owners, somehow it seems to benefit their coin. No matter what they announce, if CZ just puts out a tweet, they tend to bump up. And we've seen that in the case with this recent announcement because it jumped up something like 4% in just an hour. So it's really interesting how exactly they're able to somehow build this massive hype. But really, even just based on hype, it's going to have a huge effect.
Okay, so definitely on the same page there. Now, XRP is one of the top performing large caps today. Are rumors of XRP integration into Skype fueling this increase? So, Jason, we'll go back to you now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Wise Ratings has actually come out and said that Ripple was in talks with Skype to integrate the service. But also they had some other good news come out that Coinbase was going to launch in 11 more regions, including Mexico, India, and Hong Kong. And of course, XRP, that would bring XRP to all those markets and put the XRP basically in front of more traders. So that was another good sign for XRP. On the other hand, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag this week for XRP because Japan's fifth largest bank, Rizona, was using MoneyTap, which is a payment service that uses Ripple's blockchain, but they actually discontinued it after just 6 months. So that's sort of been a downside for XRP, although that doesn't seem to, you wouldn't know from just looking at the value right now.
Okay, thank you. And Kevin, let's go straight to you now. Please add, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, there has been a mixed bag for Ripple, as Jason mentioned. I think for right now, when crypto is in a bullish tone, people don't tend to look at bad news, and when it's in a bearish tone, they tend to only look at bad news. So I think a lot of the bad news kinds of get filtered out. But yeah, this tip bot, which is what the Skype kind of rumor was all about, has already been integrated in a bunch of different platforms. I think Twitter, Gmail. I think Reddit already has it. So it's actually it's a way for people to tip or send small payments back and forth across platforms. So I think that news definitely had something to do with it. Other than the fact as well that Ripple's also making headlines. Ripple makes a lot of headlines, and I think the way in this hype-based market, companies, especially companies the size of Ripple, are starting to figure out how to really fine-tune their press releases. So in this press release, I don't think TipBot was even mentioned. It was just mentioned that XRP was going to integrate with Skype. It was a very wide kind of berth in that, and that sounds much more, let's say, bullish than this TipBot thing is going to be integrated, that we've already integrated into a bunch of other platforms. And most users that use Twitter, Gmail, and Reddit are already using Skype. So we're not really getting any new clients per se. We're just integrating another platform. Obviously, that would have had less of an effect. So I think that this hype-based market is really starting, at least the hype-based market is starting to mature. You're starting to see from all types of different companies PR releases that are much more fine-tuned, vague where they need to be vague, and give more information where they need to give more information to really try to drive price. It's kind of interesting, to be honest. I think it's a little micro study in and of itself inside of crypto.
Excellent. Thank you for that there, Kevin. Now, Augur's REP rep token was listed on Coinbase customer trading platform. The asset has reacted with a double-digit move higher. So why was this case different from the other recent listings that did not influence the price that much? So Kevin, we'll go straight to you, please.
I go back to my comment just now, fine-tune PR. Again, I think companies are starting to figure out a way to really fine-tune their press and understand that how it affects the price. I think before they did it because they were just excited about doing something, and maybe they thought it would move price, but they didn't think it was really going to be a big catalyst. And now they know it's a catalyst, so they're fine-tuning. Aside from that, I can bring in, let's say when XRP, for example, was listed. XRP was already widely available, right? So there was a lot of gateways in order to where you could buy XRP. Another gateway, once you're a highly liquid product, isn't really going to make too much of a change. Here, Augur doesn't have as much liquidity or gateways into liquidity than XRP does, for example. So I think it has one to do with the size of the market that they just were able to access versus the size of the market they had previously. And again, the ability of these companies now to understand that their marketing teams and that their PR teams really are what is currently driving sentiment, and they're starting to use those correctly over the past weeks and months that they weren't so much in the past.
Okay, so PR really is just one of your main thoughts there. And Jason, what do you think? Is PR equally as important, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would go back to what Kevin mentioned about liquidity. That's essentially been the same thing, like he mentioned with XRP. Augur was not really traded on a whole bunch of major crypto platforms, so the Coinbase effect was going to have a better result for them than for, let's say, XRP that was basically traded everywhere. The other thing is that the Coinbase effect, a lot of people had discussed the fact that maybe it had dimmed because several coins came out with nary a bump in their valuation. But something could have happened recently, and that what I'm referring to is basically the fact that Coinbase has announced that they're going to now operate in 11 other regions, like I said, including Mexico and India. India is actually one of the hugest, obvious regions and markets for this in the first place. So essentially opening Coinbase up to all these new markets gives access to all these coins for that too. So Coinbase has already said that REP trading was going to be available in all jurisdictions supported by Coinbase Pro, with the exception of New York State. So that gives it that basically means a Coinbase effect could have a greater sheen now that they're operating in so many other regions than before.
Now, Jason, we'll go straight to you again. Wavecoin saw a flash crash to 1 Satoshi on the Binance exchange. So can you please explain how these flash crashes actually happen, Jason?
Sure. So a flash crash happens when there's an extremely rapid decline in the price of a traded asset. So in this case, it was waves. And the reasons could be many, including a cash out of funds and even a crypto whale making a mistake in placing his sell order. In this case, they essentially just placing 1-0 can drive a 10% command value on the intended order. So what happened this time was a sell order, probably market with no limit price, was placed for 506,000 waves and was executed, and dragged the price down to just a really, really low number and essentially crashed it. And the sell-off essentially cleared the entire order book for Waves and BTC. So that was really the thing that caused a major crash.
Okay, sure. And Kevin, it'll be great just to hear your thoughts about how these flash crashes happen.
Sure. So these happen in all markets. They don't happen. They're not so visible in most markets because obviously there's more liquidity in most other markets. But so what Jason said is essentially accurate. Basically, what happens is when you put a market order in, basically your market order is not looking for best price or a specific price. It just wants to get filled. It's fill me now at whatever price is available. So if you have two sides of a book or a pricing book, and you have your bid and your ask, and you put in a market order and you have, let's say, one token available at each price level all the way down maybe 1,000 levels, well, and you buy 1,000 of them, you're going to go down 1,000 levels. So whatever that level ends up being, when you use, let's say, limit orders, you can actually say, I want to get filled at this price, and I'll take a partial fill rather than a full fill. So it generally could be somebody that didn't know what they were doing and placed a very large market order without segmenting it, and they just cleared through the order book. It could also be a technical glitch. I mean, I've seen even in FX, which is a much more mature market, there are technical glitches that happen all the time with pricing engines that basically send out indicative pricing. So they're trying to balance a book, and they're sending out pricing with no liquidity behind it, just to maintain the book at a specific price. And then, yeah, somebody comes in even with a limit order and basically wipes through the entire book, clears out one side, and it drops the price. So it could be a combination of things, but that's one thing. We need price discovery in crypto, and exchanges need to start actually employing price discovery, because price discovery stops this from happening.
Now, finally, very, very briefly, if you may, the BAT token is one of the top performers today. It is now available on the Brave mobile browser. Is this a huge step for crypto adoption? If you could give us a nice one-liner, that would be fantastic. Jason.
So I think it matters. Obviously, the Brave token is the BAT token is actually from the Brave mobile browser in the first place, and it's a powerful tool for marketers and publishers. They've been on a wild ride since the start of 2019. The price has risen approximately 190%. So I'm really bullish on BAT, and I think they're going to do really well.
And Kevin, please, finally, your thoughts very briefly, please.
Sure. More eyes on the industry, better for the industry. So there's your one-liner. So in a sense, yes. Huge might be a little, huge, like the Donald Trump huge might be a little too out of the box, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Kevin, Jason, thank you so much. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.
Now, before we sign off, I have a last-minute update from my editorial staff regarding the crypto market. The total market capitalization has retreated slightly from the intra-day high of just over $180 billion. Trading activity can be described as stable. The coin market cap 24-hour trading volume indicator remains above the $40 billion mark. Well, that's all for this Thursday's Crypto Now live show. We thank Kevin Mirko and Jason Fernandez for their expert analysis. We thank the audience for joining us and invite you all to accompany us every weekday at the same time.